Hi there, this is Kazungu Duncan from Ero Productions, and I am so happy to be back again. Of course, I've taken like 5 days without posting. So this week I've been learning about how to paint highlights and shadows in Photoshop, and I've learned a lot, and I may not say that I'm on the safer side or I know how to paint this perfectly, but at least I felt like sharing to you what I learned this week. So I'll be doing this because I did it and posted it on my Instagram and on my Facebook, and people were happy about it. There is another photo that I also posted on my Instagram when I did a photo manipulation. I had a tree and a lady going through it, and also there's a route, the staircase and all that. So people were happy about this, and I felt like it's better I share what I was learning during this week. So I'll be using this photo and I'll be helping you to understand how I achieved this in Photoshop. And of course I applied some neon effect and I like what I got. So without further ado, let's get started. So back in the magical world of Photoshop, and if you want to go ahead and download this photo and follow along, you know what to do. Find a link in the description. So I had a photo. Let me just take you through what I did so that you can understand. Then I'll be very quick in what I'll be doing here, and I hope if I'm going faster, you will pause your video and continue watching. Now, I had a photo. So the first thing to do is to make a copy. In case you make a mistake, at least you have something to fall back to. And then after I made that copy, I separated the subject from the background because I needed to add some bokeh. Okay, this image has already some bokeh, but I think I needed more of it just to distinct the subject from the background. So I made a copy of that, or basically I separated this, and you can use the tool that you like to separate. You can use lasso tools, you can use a pen tool. And by the way, if you need to understand a pen tool, I recommend this video from Pixie Imperfect. I am sure if you watch this, you'll become a pro in using a pen tool. And also I did a video, and I'll put a link here, which I explained Photoshop for beginners, and I touched about the pen tool. So I separated that, and I had some curves and levels just to spice up the background to make it a bit darker. Then after that, I had some curves also for the image because the image was not matching with the background after I had conducted those curves and those levels. Then I painted the shadow, and also I painted the highlight, and I added the neon effect from the Ero Productions. At least it shed some light there. Then it came to now the YouTube logo. You can use any logo you want, but I felt it's good to use the YouTube logo. And then I had the general curves for the entire image, or for the entire composite. Then I had the name, that is Ero Productions, and I did some good thing with it. Then the thing that spiced everything up is the camera raw. And of course, if I turn it off, you will realize that it's not that good. It's fairly good, but when I did the camera raw, you can look at that. It is so beautiful. So I want us to start off very quickly. So allow me to, should I delete? Yeah, maybe let me just delete so that we can start from scratch. So let me put this in the trash can. Boom, we have this image. The first step was make a copy of the background. When the background is selected, hit Ctrl J or Command J, make a copy. I can turn off this and rename this as child, just to keep things tight and good. I'll rename that as child. Then the second thing to do is to separate the subject from the background. And I said you can use your favorite tool. And for me, I was a bit should I say lazy? I was a bit lazy because I'm using the latest version of Photoshop. I told Photoshop, you know what? Can you just do for me this? So I took the magic wand tool, or select any selection tool, and I said select subject. And you will allow it to load, and of course, after it loads, you'll have your thing. So as it's loading, allow me to play this thing, and I'll be back shortly. I think I like that. So yeah, it's not yet done, so I'll play it a bit, and I think I'll be so good. Not yet done. It's taking a lot of time. I don't know why. We shall give you time. Shall give you enough time. It is done. All right, I think Photoshop has done a pretty good job. I don't care if it has done it good or bad, but at least I have my subject. Now what I'll do, I'll hit Ctrl J or Command J to make a copy of that, and you can now see at least I have separated this. You can see it didn't do a pretty good job, but at least I can still use this and to just save on time. I said I should use that. Now, I've now separated this. Now it's time to conduct the adjustment layers, and I used curves and levels. So first of all, I'll do it on the background, then I'll come to the image or the subject. So I'll come here and start with curves, and I just want to make it a bit, dark and all that. So I'll put this here and just drop some shadows like that, and try to, touch a little bit on the highlights to have something like that. I can start with that. I can always go back and, edit this some other time. Then I will run the levels, and I just need to make the shadows be pronounced and all that. So I'll bring this. You see that bokeh is now a bit coming up very pretty good. So I'll do this. It will depend with your background, but for me, I think I like it this way, to just have it cool, to just bring in that mood. Boom. And you can see now, if I will leave this subject, it's looking weird because the background is now having some bokeh, and if I leave it this way, it won't be good. So I also did some curves on this layer. Let me just say separate. Let me just name this just to remain good and organized. So I will also carry some curves here. So I'll have curves, but this time around I'm going to clip them on this so that it does not affect the entire image or the entire composite. So I will now drop this a bit, just like that. Look at that. At least it's now becoming beautiful. It's now blending in with this background. So I think I overdid this. Let me raise some highlights, and the mid-tones, let me drop them a bit, just like that. In case I will need to correct it, I will come later on and do that. So I'll also run some levels, and I will clip them also so that it does not affect the entire composite. And I'll just want to make it a bit dark, just like that. Look at that. I think I like that. You see the contrast is a bit, beautiful. I think when I do it this way, I will like the results. So at least if I look at this image, it now blends in with the background. So it's now time to start painting in the shadows and making it look more beautiful. So first of all, let me analyze this. Where does the light come from? This light comes from the top right part of this image, and it is hitting the face. So the shadows will always be on the top, on the bottom left, somewhere here. On this ear and this hair, it will have some shadows. If you want to identify this, I think we can create an adjustment layer, black and white, and then we kill all the reds and see what will be affecting. You can see this one now illustrates better where you will paint the highlights and where you will paint the shadows. You can see the highlights are on this part of the face because the light is hitting on that part of the face. Then we shall have the shadows over here. I think you now understand me. I can just put this off and then I will start now. I can even delete it. I don't need it at this moment. I just used it to explain to you. So I will start with the shadow because I know, of course, where the shadow should be. So I'll just make you can use hue and saturation, but I think that one is a bit technical. I will use a simple one, just creating a layer and having a darker shade of maybe gray or black. Then that I'll paint using what do you call it, a brush. Then we shall see what to do. So allow me to create a new layer and just call it shadow, just like that. Then I will also clip it. So I'll just come here in between this line and hold Alt, then click to clip it on that very subject. Then what I'll do, I'll hit B on my keyboard. And by the way, on Instagram, I posted the shortcuts that you should know as a Photoshop user, and I think you can watch that. So I'll come here and pick some. It's not, I don't want it to be totally black and totally gray. I need it to be 50% gray. So I'll pick something close to this, and then I'll come here and increase the size of my brush and just paint over here, just like that. I'll paint to where I feel the shadows should reach. So we saw that the shadows should be somewhere up to this point. So we shall paint here and just, do some good magic here, and it will turn out to be so beautiful. So I think that's enough. Yes, that's enough. Now after I've painted this, you can see it's looking ugly. Now what I want to do, I want to change the blend mode from normal to multiply. Of course, multiply is a blend mode that darkens things up. So it takes the pixels on the photo and on this very layer and darkens them. It multiplies them to make them dark. So once I've selected that, you can see it's now a shadow. But I didn't like to have these sharp edges. I didn't like that. I needed to just have a cool, the transition from the shadows to highlights should be not even noticeable. Like this one, if I leave it this way, you can notice that it's not pretty good. So what I did, I now carried some, blur on this very shadow to just make it beautiful. So when the shadow is selected, come to filter, then blur, and then I said Gaussian blur. And in this Gaussian blur, I gave it the blur that it deserves so that that spread can be even. You can see it's now killing. When I'm increasing it, it is killing those edges. So let me see. I think if I do something like 40, will do pretty good here. Then I'll say, okay. So you can see now the shadow is well placed. At least you cannot notice it. You can feel it is natural. So then after I did that, now I will need to have the logo from YouTube, of course, so that I can paint the highlights, because this highlight, I assumed that the light is coming from the logo. So I'll need the logo to be there so that I can have this. So quickly, let me just look for the logo and drag it and drop it here, just like that. And I'll take this and I'll remove this white part of it because I don't want it. So I'll just use the magic wand, the tool that selects the color of the same pixel. Pretty good. Then I'll rasterize this layer so that I can delete the background just like that. Then I'll hit Ctrl D to deselect, hit V to turn to move tool, and I will resize this appropriately. Then I will place it here, I needed it to be over this place. So I'll just place it here so that, you know, it becomes now the source of light for me. So I think that size is good, and then I'll hit enter or return. You can look at that now and see that it's now turning to be something good. Then what I did, I also made a copy of this. When it is selected, just hit Ctrl J to make another copy, just like that. Then on this copy, I will now need to have the neon effect. So what I did, I selected this layer and I went to filter and then blur and then Gaussian blur. Then I also increased this blur so that I can have it as enough as I want. I think that's too much. You'll be doing it as you look at how it's affecting that image or that very blur, because I want it to be as cool as possible. I think I don't want to overdo it. Let me see what works for me. I think around 37 or 35, it's pretty good. Let me try 35. Let's work with that. In case I'll need corrections, I'll come and do that. So let me just say okay. Then I made it to be a bit bigger, so I'll resize it to just bring out that blur, and look at that. Look at that. I think I like that. Let me do it more to see the effect. That will be more. I think that's fine. Let me hit OK to just leave it that way. You can now see it's now bringing that light that I wanted. Then on this, should I carry out some blur? Let me first of all try to reduce it and see how it will fit, because I don't want those edges to be seen. If I reduce it to that point, yes, but the edges are still seen. Also what I'll do, allow me to also do some glow here. So double click right on this right part of this layer, just double click to open up the blend if options so that I can have the inner glow. Then once they are open, just select the inner glow and make sure that it is checked, and then I'll reduce the spread and then increase this size. Let me look at that. At least that one added something. Then the opacity, I'll also try to increase. That's too much. Let me do, I think that's fine, and reduce this size just like that. I think that's fine. Once you're satisfied, you hit OK. Then I will want now to just resize this. I feel it's not well resized, just like that. Then what I'll do, I can see it is popping out and I don't like that. So what I'll do, let me just select this and carry out a little bit of this Gaussian blur, but not too much. Just need to blur it a bit so that it loses those sharp edges, just like that. It's not fine. I think let me do just two, then enter. Then again, I will select this and try to resize it. You'll just try it until you feel it's fine. So I think to that point it is fine, and then I'll hit OK. Then the next step is I need now to have the highlights. It's now time to paint the highlights. So I'll come back to my layer here on top of this shadow. I'll make a new layer and call it highlight. Highlights, just like that. Then I'll also clip it so that it does not go outside. Then I'll take the brush tool, and when you're in the brush tool and hold Alt, it automatically turns to an eyedropper. So I'll pick this color, this shade of red, and just paint it over here, just like that. And remember, I'm following the trick that where the highlights are, I should paint, of course, there. So I'm just painting where I feel that there should be some, highlights. So on this face here and down here should have some highlights, just like that. Then again, it's looking weird. What I'll do, I'll change the blend mode from normal, and I'll come and say overlay. What overlay does, it will just brighten those pixels and it will look something like this. Then again, I don't want to have sharp edges, so what I did, I had some blur. So I select this highlights, go to filter, and then come to blur and Gaussian blur. Then I will increase this blur until I feel like those edges are not being seen. So I'll increase it further to just kill those edges and have a nice and beautiful look. Look at that. I think 80 is, of course 75 is also good. Let me do, I think let me do 70. 70 will do me good. If I need to change it, I'll change it some other time. Look at that. So far, so good. Let me see where we are. Let me see the before and the after. That is before and that is after. I think I like where we are going to. And after that, I felt like I should have some curves to just spice up some things to just make this cool. So select this top layer and then come here and have some curves, the general curves. Those ones we are not going to clip them. At least we should just bring in some mood. So I'll drop this a bit. Look at that. It's now becoming more beautiful. So I drop it like that. Then I'll come to this channel, the red channel, because there is some reds here. I just want to boost them a bit, not too much. So I'll just increase them from the mid-tones, just like that, not too much. Then I'll come to the greens. I don't want greens here. So I may want to have some magenta. Of course, green or magenta is the opposite of green. I don't know which one is which. So I'll just drop this just like that to have some magenta. You can see it's pretty good somewhere, like this part and this part it's becoming so beautiful. Then the blues, I would like to have some blues in this image. So I'll just put a little bit of the blues, just like not too much, just a touch of it, and I'll collapse this. That is before the curves and that is after having the curves. You can see now it's beautiful. I think this tutorial is even coming to an end because we have conducted most of the things that I had said on our list. So the next thing I want to do, I need to apply a neon effect. Of course, I have now the reds and I need some blues or something, just like that. So I thought I should write a text here, and then after writing that text, I give it an effect, and then I apply that effect on our image. What I mean is that select this and come to this and pick the text tool and just write something that you like. For example, I'll just write Ero Productions, just like that. Then select all, and I think railway is good. I used that. Let me just check this and take the move tool and position this somewhere here. And I even think that size is pretty good. So just position it here. What I'll change is the color. So I'll come here to character and just change this color to something like, I think it was something close to, I'm not so sure what I put there, but it was closer to this, and I think you like that. So just say okay. Then I'll make a copy of this. So when the layer is selected, just hit Ctrl J or Command J to make a copy. Then on this copy, the original one, I'll want to blur it. So I'll just select it, come to filter, and then come to blur, and then Gaussian blur. And it's telling me this type layer must be rasterized or converted to a smart object. Just say you can convert it, you can rasterize it or convert it to a smart object. So I'll just say convert to smart object. Converting it to smart object will give me some privileges which I may want to use some other time, like for example changing the color of this. If you rasterize it, you won't change the color. So let me just increase this blur and see how it behaves. Am I really seeing something? I should reduce it rather, because if you increase it, it pixels and it doesn't look good. So let me see what favors this. Nope. I think 18 does me good. No, let me do 16 and see. Yeah, let me do with 16. I think 16 is good. So you can see after applying that, it is now becoming so beautiful. And maybe I should just place it somewhere. Let me select this and also select this and just take them closer to me, just like that. Then I would want also this effect to apply. Like I'm assuming this is a source of light again. So I want it to be reflected on this subject. So I'll come back to our subject and just clip it here. So I'll just come here and make a new layer and call this layer neon. Then I'll also clip it so that it affects this subject only. Then I'll take the brush tool and hit Alt, then just pick this color. Sorry, I think I need this. After that, I'll just paint it here. And somewhere here, I want it to spread it. Like on this neck part, I feel that it should spread to this neck part up to this point. Then this will be a highlight. So what I'll do, I'll change this blend mode from normal to overlay, just like that. It doesn't look beautiful, so what I'll do, I'll blur it to just avoid those sharp edges. Just blur it to somewhere I feel it is beautiful. So that's too much. Although I needed just a touch of it, I don't want too much of it. So I'll be looking at it. I just need it to affect this part of the neck. So I feel that that's fine. Because when you're making, what I learned this week is that when you're making highlights, they should not be brighter than the source of the light. That is what I learned, because if they are brighter, then I don't know. So this is fine. And guys, I believe this is pretty good. And then the next thing I did is I had the camera raw, which now changed everything around. So I'll come to the topmost layer, just select the topmost layer, just like that. I believe, no, this is the topmost layer. Once that is selected, I want to make a stamp visible layer. And to do that, you just hold Shift, Alt, Control, and E. That one makes a stamp visible layer. Then I'll rename that to Camera Raw, just like that. Then I will now want to change this layer to a smart filter. So when the layer is selected, come to Filter and say Convert for Smart Filters and hit OK. And that will change to a smart filter. Then I will now come to Filter and now run the camera raw and allow it to load. I don't know if it will take time. If it will, let me touch this a bit as it's doing that. I think this gives me some peace when I play it, and I just love having it around me. Wow, it's already done. I thought I should play this. Anyway, let me go back to this tutorial. Now, some things are going to be magical here, and I think you will like this. So let me add in some temperature to just have some mood, I don't know. That's fine. Then on the exposure, it's overly exposed, and I just need to create some mood the way I'm saying. So I'll just drop it down, just like that. Not too much. I think that mood is enough. Then I'll pump up some contrast to just beautify this image. Then on the highlights, I'll also increase them, but not too much. Just like that. The shadows, I don't want it to be too dark on the shadows, so I'll just pump them up a bit, not too much. The whites, I'll also increase them, just like that. And you can see the image is now turning to be so beautiful. I think I've turned the whites too much. I didn't need that too much. I think that one will do me fine. No, why is it misbehaving? I said something like this. Let me see. Okay, that's fine. Then on the blacks, I'll just drop them a bit, not too much, to somewhere like -16 is fine. Then the texture, I don't need texture here, so I won't touch that. On the clarity, I'll increase it a bit to just see some details in this very image. Then I'll come to vibrance. I'll just at least touch a touch of it. Dehaze, I'll also dehaze it to something like that. Then I'll come back. I think the warmth is too much, so I'll reduce it to something like 2. I think 2 is fine. Then I'll come to this very tone curve, and then I want just to boost, to just raise up some, highlights, some shadows. So I'll come to this very part and just raise it up a bit. And I'll look at the output, and the output, I think 5, something less than 5 will do. So let me do 4. 4 I think is pretty good. And then let me do some vignetting. Come to Effects tab and just drop down this amount to 0. Then the vignetting means I need to draw attention. When someone is looking at this image, it should look at the face. So I want to have some, roundness on this and put some, some cool shadows. And I think I'll do it and you'll see that. So I'll drop this, the midpoint, just drop it, just like that. And also, sorry, I don't know why it's misbehaving, or I'll just type in 0 if it's disturbing me. So on this roundness, I'll also just drop it, and the feathering also, I don't know why it's misbehaving. Maybe my computer is tired. Then on this also feathering, I will want to put it there. Then once it's there, I'll now want to just now play around with this. So let me increase the roundness and see. And look at that, look at that. So where do I want it to affect? So I just want it to start from there, so that someone can concentrate on that part alone. Then I will now increase the midpoint, just like that, to somewhere like that. For the beginning, let me leave it there so that I can deal with the feathering. So the feathering will just kill those sharp edges, and I don't want to overdo it. I just want it to be somewhere like, I think that is fine for me. Let me increase the midpoint a bit, just like that. Then I will now come back and deal with the amount. So this amount, I'll just leave it somewhere like here. Look at that. Look at that. I think I like this. I like what I'm seeing. At least now the focus is in this face. I think up to that point I'm satisfied, and once you're satisfied, just hit OK. And then you'll allow that to save, and it has saved pretty fast. And look at that. Look at that. So let me see the before. That is before camera raw, and that is after camera raw. So guys, this is what I was learning over the week. You can rate me down in the comments below, although I'm learning this and I believe I have shared enough for you, and you will feel good to practice this, because I found photo manipulation is something so beautiful, and I would like to do it more and more. Whenever I need to just rest my mind, apart from playing this piano, I need just to, play around with Photoshop and learn some good cool things in this Photoshop. So guys, I hope that this tutorial was helpful for you, and if it was, give me a like and share this video to your friends and your family so that they can also learn this. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel and you find my YouTube channel good, or you find my general content good for you, please consider subscribing and ring that bell so that you, my friend, do not miss any future tips, tricks, or tutorials. Guys, I hope I'll see you in my next video. Until then, remember to keep creating.